Hello friends, welcome to Fox Tech. Today we're going to see another interesting topic on how to isolate the pod in the production environment for debugging using kubectl. Right, so if you're working on a production environment, sometimes you may need to troubleshoot some certain pods, which will be like just checking the configuration, or if you like to tweak some configuration, or you want to hit some sidecar container and test the production load, right? So it will be very hard if you are doing on the fly, because there will be a production load will be there in case your configuration is misconfigured or some changes affected the production load. Your users or your co-applicant applications may lose the traffic or the response from your applications. So it will be a bit hard. So it's very important to troubleshoot or debug the pod with certain isolated zones. So it will be helpful for us to get the accurate result what we want, right? So today we're going to see how we can achieve that. So let me explain you that. So let's assume we have a deployment which already having a label called app equal to take, and it has a 3 replicas. So what happens when you deploy the deployment, it creates the replicas, and obviously if any user like to access or any co-applications, so mostly will be used by the service, and service will be the front end, and the service will be distribute the load or the traffic across the pods. How the traffic will be served by the service, again it has a selector of label, and label will be chosen and its traffic will be flown. Okay, so now you have a requirement, or you are thinking like this deployment need to be tweaked and I need to isolate one of this pod. So I'm going to take the example of third pod here. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to introduce the label equal to label is app equal to debug. So instead of app equal to take. So how do you do that? I'll show you in the demo, but let me explain what happens here. So I don't want the app equal to take, so I'm going to replace that or override with app equal to debug. So what happens? The label will be always automatically changed. So this pod will be automatically moved out of the deployment, right? So what happens? Service keep check the labels. If the label is not matching, the traffic won't be flow. So other two parts traffic will be flow as it is, but the third part will be completely isolated and no traffic will be routed. Well, so what happens next? So immediately the deployment smells, oh, there is one pod is missing, as my supposed to have a 3 replicas. So it's try to match it and it's provision another pod. So now you may see this. So complete setup will have a 3 pods with the deployment, one without any deployment, but the configuration whatever it was having, it will be so much similar, right? So now you got to know what happening. So what we're going to do now, let's quickly jump into the demo. So in the demo, what we're going to do, so I'll have already having a one deployment. Let me show you that. So deploy. So this is a basic box web. So I have already 3 replicas, and if you want to see the label, so I have some custom label. Again, I'm not taken the demo one, so I'll show you the labels. Labels equal to true. So you can see this is my label here. I'm going to use for this demo, I'm going to use this label name, and let me quickly show my pod also, so you will be get a clarity what we are going to do next. So this is my pod, and already I'm running with bbox, right? So how do you override your labels? So there is a command kubectl label pod, and I'm going to take this pod this time, and this is a name. What I'm going to do, so I'm going to change it to app equal to debug. So this pod label will be changed to debug. I'm going to do overwrite. So the label has been updated. Let me show you again the labels. So you can see that deployment already provisioned another pod, and all the pods are running fine, and my existing pod has been changed to with the app equal to debug. Now what you can do, so now it's open to you, so you can just run any commands. Let's assume I have already documented, so you can refer this block to read about what is happening, how you can do it. So what happens? So you can use the exact command to add any container or do some kind of a troubleshooting, or you can do some custom port forwarding and try to access the pod. Or let's say like you can debug it using some kind of a sidecar container. So you will have a extra benefits. Well, so this is how we can do it. And before that, you have to understand what is advantage and disadvantage. So let me start with the advantage first. So what is a big advantage here? So you can minimize the risk. So isolating the pod will always reduce the risk of introducing unintended changes to the production environment. Since you are trying only modifying the single pod, it won't impact all other pods. Well, great. And preserve the production state. So it's always important to preserve it to test some kind of important changes. So you can able to preserve it with the labeling feature. And scalability part, the technique is seamlessly development deployment have multiple replicas. You can isolate any pod without affecting the overall service availability as we seen. So it's not affected the current load and the pod is completely isolated. And it's very better and it's quick for us to debug any kind of a small changes. Um, and also it's reduce the downtime when you're doing some changes and it maybe restart the pod, let it, but it won't affect any of the production load because we already isolated. And repeatability, so you can keep on move the pods and do the changes and you can leverage the technique to future debugging needs. Well, that's great. And same time we should understand the disadvantages. So what are the disadvantages here? So it may increase resource consumption. So let's say like you are keep on changing your pods and multiple pod has been isolated. So you may have a high CPU intensive things and your cluster, if it's already running with the over CPUs or over memory, and this pod is adds additional load. So keep watch on that and you have to follow the best practices. And also you have to go for the limited debugging depths. So it's very much suits because not every time we get all the benefit of deployment here with a single part. So that you should be keeping the note. So whenever you are trying to do the debugging. And the potential side effects. So although risk is minimal, the changes in the labels could have unintended consequence. Double check your labels and ensure you don't accidentally affect other part of the deployments. So keep watch it and monitor the overhead. Again, it's like a FinOps site. So you should not running additional parts for a long time and you should have it with a short time period. Let's say like you are isolating the pod today and you should finish your all the trial and hits mostly one day within one day. So it may reduce a lot of things. So otherwise what happens, your pod may be running and you may be busy with other work and your complete workers or your complete cluster may get affected or the pod will be running as orphan. So that may lead to have additional cost and additional loads to your cluster, right? So these all the things you should understand and you should keep it in the notes whenever you're trying to do this activity. So it has a similar advantage and disadvantage. So when you're doing effectively using this technique, so this will give us a very much benefits. But if we are just forgot what we have done and we have moved to other task without cleaning up, so it may add a lot of pressure to us. So always keep the things under the hood and best visibilities and keep practice and have a great day. Thank you guys. Bye bye.